Okay, well, next up we have a session from Jabra, the new normal, what it means to be flexible working. So we have Erin Murphy, who will be giving us our presentation today with with some other supporters from their side. Thanks very much, Erin. Take it away.
Everyone, thank you for joining today. My name is Erin Murphy. I'm the Jabra Channel Account Manager for Queensland. So first of all, I'd like to run you through who we are. So Jabra has been around for 151 years. We originated with our founder actually created the first telegraph pole from China to Europe. But from there, we have created the world's leading sound and video expertise all under the one roof. So our ReSound sister company is our medical grade hearing specialists. So it's for people who need to hear. But then we've gone from that to Jabra, and also our Blue Parrot, which is for people who love to hear. So our professional grade headsets, such as the Engage, the Evolv, and also Blue Parrot for commercial use in construction, and has up to 98% noise cancelling. The other one we have is our consumer grade devices that you guys might be aware of, that are in the retail spaces such as JB Hi-Fi, which is our elite range, which is waterproof and high exercise environments. So what we're here today to talk about is the new normal. This has been a very common conversation around the world, because what does the new normal look like? So 77% of people's time is now spent in virtual collaboration, just like we're doing now. We've found an average of 2 days from home is the average, 2 days in the office, and then 1 day in a third space, whether that be a cafe, a park, a basement, who knows, but there's basically the split workplace. And what this means is we need to collaborate together, and we need to find these ways to be flexible. And this is what Jabra is all about. So remote work continues to increase and will become the new norm basically in the next 5 years. This means that most likely see some shift from collaboration work from face-to-face interaction to virtual collaboration. What's the conclusion behind this data? Well, concentration, collaboration, and flexibility must coexist for knowledge workers to be productive in the 2020s. People spend less time working alone. As the complexity of work increases, people are having to collaborate more and more in order to solve problems. So our research shows that as many as 61% of our work headsets are non-UC certified consumer devices that are being brought to work. This is particularly due because of the younger generation of workers' demand and being able to bring their own BYOD devices to fulfill their personal needs at work. However, this means poor quality for non-UC certified devices and adding Zoom fatigue, which we're now seeing around the world. In this new normal hybrid working era, never has it been more important to manage employees' mental health and work-life balance. The biggest challenge of remote working has been keeping this new remote workforce productive and collaborative without suffering video conferencing fatigue. A genuine challenge for many is Zoom fatigue, and it is real. And it's been validated right around the world by behavioural analysis. Peer-reviewed research has also found that when people have too many video calls, they are less collaborative. And a behavioural analysis explains that most of the non-verbal cues, such as eye contact, body language, are not always possible via video conferencing. Without time spent commuting, we also are finding that virtual meetings are scheduled more every day, which increases Zoom fatigue as well. So without the right devices, Zoom fatigue is even more contagious, but hearing is believing. So how different can you sound? So in a real experience, how different can you sound if you're using a consumer grade device versus a Jabra professional headset? So I want to run through with you guys the Evolv 2 range. I'm just going to touch base today on our 4 key products that we have in the range. And if anybody has any questions afterwards or would like to reach out to me for further information or a demo unit, by all means, please reach out to myself or BESTech, or BES IT. So the 4 you see on our screen goes from left to right. We've got the Evolv 230, which is our new product, which has been out now for a couple of 2 months. It's a wide device, but it has a full 360-degree busy light. We have the Evolv 265 in the middle, which is the second one, which is the wireless device. This one has 40mm speakers and a 37-hour battery life. Very, very comfortable unit. And because we have this experience in the hearing aid, people who need to hear, we have been able to cup the speakers and make 2.5 times better passive noise cancelling on our new range. In the middle there, you can see our big Evolv 285, which we will be giving away today as a prize. This is one of our, I guess, consumer devices that we had, which we've made into an enterprise device by adding the boom mic and having the open office certification. And on the far right, we have our Evolv 240, which is our wide version of our Evolv 265. So what this means is better concentration, better collaboration, and better flexibility with the existing power and productivity in the Evolv 2 range. Also, the Evolv 285 gives you ANC as well as for the high noise environments. So with that, any other questions you have on headsets, I'm more than happy to answer those questions. But today we are here to talk about Panicast. Now, Panicast is our collaboration, our huddle room space, but also working from home. We have our new Panicast 20 as well, but I'd like to hand it over to Nu. Nu, yep.
Awesome. Thank you, Erin. Can you hear me? You can see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. No, fantastic overview of the headsets there. And I think one thing that we wanted to kind of take away today, so my name is Nu. I've been at Jabra for a total of 4 years. I've got Lloyd Newcup as well on the call today. It's really great to be on this presentation with you, and thank you for allowing me to change out of my PJs and present to you as well. So it's very good. I'm based in Melbourne. We are used to the lockdown, so feel sorry for us. Yep, us Melburnians in Sydney. We're really honoured to kind of be here and really give you an overview of what Jabra has to offer. And I think one of the key takeaways that Matt and Mark from HP mentioned before was around hybrid working. You know, how do we support, your customers with this transition? Because you mentioned before education, one of the biggest verticals that had to really pick up everything and go home and really virtually do everything on their laptop. But in terms of meeting rooms, you're probably wondering, what does Jabra have to offer and why do we need to go back into the meeting rooms? Because we're so used to working from home in our PJs. What does it all mean? Why do we have to go? And I think we do a lot of research, as you can see in our headsets, before we release the products. And it's purely because of our customers. And what we're seeing in the last 18 months is that when people do go back into the office, their expectations has changed. And I think it's because, maybe because of COVID, or maybe they just don't have that patience anymore when they're in a meeting room and they have no idea how to join a meeting, or it takes them about 20 to 30 minutes to join a meeting. So what has Jabra done to make it easier, but also provide that flexibility as we're in this hybrid world? And you've probably heard this word for 100 times already, but it's because it's not going anywhere. It's really not going anywhere. So how do we support your customers, yourself as well, BES, to kind of transition this as well? So it won't be death by PowerPoint. What I'll do is I'll share with you what the Panicast range and what the video solutions really mean, but also show you. So this is why Lloyd has joined the call, because we want to actually show you how we can help, particularly in the education vertical as well, not just meeting room, but I guess all verticals will benefit from these solutions, because everyone is really thinking of ways, to navigate through all this. Now, when you think about Jabra, it's all about audio. That's our bread and butter. But we've pretty much looked at, the world right now, but also how do we help with the meeting rooms and also the key decision makers at organizations. So how to get people back into the office safe, and flexible, providing those flexible solutions that allow key decision makers to make those really decisions going into the next 18 months or 24 months around, do we keep the meeting rooms or do we go completely virtual? So little key decisions like that could actually help transition these organizations. Now, if you look at audiovisual 5 years ago, not a lot of people really think about the people in the room or even the virtual. It's just really, let's get onto the call, let's get on the camera, if we can see you, that's fantastic. But people want more now. But at the same time, budget cuts and all those things come into play. We want the best technology in these small meeting rooms, because when we walk into the office, we're a bit scared about the boardroom because we don't know how to use it, or there's too many cables hanging out. So how do we make these videos intelligent, but also bring people back into the office safely? And what that means is that it's data. Data is key. So how do you extract these data from the technology to be able to allow you to make those decisions as well? So those are really the key pillars that we have at Jabra, is the flexibility. How do we extract the analytic, but also give you the best experience, whether you're working from home or in the office as well. Now, what we do at Jabra is that we try to keep this consistent experience. Where Erin mentioned it before about all of our headsets, we try to make people productive. We try to allow them to have a professional headset to give that productivity, but also allow them to be in the office, be in a cafe, be anywhere they want and still be able to join a call that allows them to be productive, but be able to cancel all those noise out and work as well. So how do you keep this executive experience that people have been doing for the last 18 months at home with a professional personal device, and then bring that device all the way through the meeting room, because people are so used to the laptop, that's what they've been using in the last 18 months. So how do you keep that consistent experience across the board, but also providing those flexible devices where if they do move, can they take those devices with them and not lose that return on investment or the whole investment overall as well? So for those who are not familiar with the Panicast, so Panicast is really our portfolio in terms of video solutions and helping people with small to medium meeting rooms, but also within the education space as well. So if you look at a traditional VC solution, it can only capture so much. So if you're a remote participant and you're joining a call, you want to be able to see everyone in the room, or at least hear them as well. But if you can't see them, it changes the experience a lot, because you're thinking, oh, am I missing out on those chats? Am I missing out on any collaboration that's happening in the room? So what we're trying to do here is bring everything in that room into view for the remote participant. And let's use Microsoft as an example, because their whole purpose this year is to bring that inclusiveness to the meeting rooms, but also for the remote participants. So how do you drive that equality in the meeting room for those in the room, but also remote participants? Especially if you're virtual training or learning or teaching, that's going to be really key. And the other thing is that you can't huddle anymore. And I think if you're in a room where there's a webcam, and particularly if you look at it, the frame, if we can't see you and you have to huddle, that's probably because of the COVID safety issues as well. So there's a whole lot of restrictions that you can't do right now around capacity limits, but also the COVID restrictions. So I just want to kind of put this right here to show the people who are not familiar with the Panicast and what it means to have that 180-degree field of view. It's basically the room coverage. That's really important right now. And what does the actual portfolio look like? So this is the portfolio lineup for this year, and I'm really excited to have it because it's really tying it back to those key pillars that I mentioned before, where you're working from home, you've got the Panicast 20, and you want to kind of have a portable solution that can go take it with you into the office if you need it as well. And then the flexible solutions around like a meeting room in a box, what you see in the middle there is a camera that is really small. And you can actually take it with you, but also pair that with 2 speakers in order for you to enable a meeting room anywhere. So you don't have to rely on your phone, you don't have to huddle around your laptop anymore, and you can have an executive experience really anywhere as well, in school, pretty much at home, or in a meeting room. Now, the spotlight and the hero product for us this year is really the Panicast 50, what you see on the right-hand side. It's built for that small to medium room, but we've consolidated everything from an audio experience, the camera experience, and the speakers experience into this device as well. So if you compare it to the middle device and you're wondering, why do I need to choose one or the other? It's really around the simplicity. And we've listened to our customers around what they want right now is simple devices that's set up within a matter of minutes using their laptop, because it's a bring your own device, which is what Mark mentioned before from HP, because you're so used to that device and you want to join every single meeting that your customers have invited you to or your colleagues have invited you to. So you're not locked down to just Teams or Zoom. You're really opening up all those devices, all the UC platforms for yourself, but also for your clients as well. So key use cases here for each of the device. Now, diving deeper into the Panicast 50, and you're probably wondering why is it so different from other video bars in the market? Because there are quite a few of them in the market. And I think a lot of them have been around for about 5 to 6 years. We've kind of released this device because it's one of our most intelligent video bars out in the market. And audio is really the strength. That's our bread and butter. That's where Jabra has started, right? And I think one of the key things of the feedback that we get is that when people are in the room, it's okay to have the meeting, but what about the remote participants? If they can't hear you clearly and they don't know who's talking, it really changes that experience. It creates a poor experience that people are like, okay, I'm just going to dial back in later, or I'll call you directly. You don't want that to happen because you want to push for more collaborative experience and engagement with your colleagues or with your customers as well. The other clear difference here is really the dual stream. And that's one of the things that I've invited Lloyd to kind of demo with you today, because spotlighting education again, a lot of people are utilizing that, hybrid learning, but then if they've got a whiteboard in the room, how do you bring that whiteboard and collaborative experience into life? Especially if you're using Zoom or Teams or any other platform, that you want to make sure you're being engaging to your students, engaging to your colleagues, and having this dual stream. Basically, it means you're allowing yourself to have a presentation mode, but also bring that whiteboard into life as well. So very different to the other video bars out there because of the capabilities that we have with the 3 cameras as well. Now, the other thing is the flexibility. So this device is quite light. It's small. It's only 65 centimeters, and I've carried this through airports after airports. So what that means is that you don't need an engineering degree to deploy this device. And then the next step is, how do you manage it? There's an Ethernet port at the back of this device, which allows you to remotely manage it. So you don't have to be at the headquarters and plug this device into a laptop via USB, because that's traditionally how you would update firmware. Now you can mass deploy all those firmware in one go, regardless of where you are as well. So providing that safe, flexibility for the IT managers to manage the device. Now, the other thing is the analytics that it brings. Like I mentioned before around safety and going back to the office, capacity limits is going to be really key because not everyone can fit into a particular room. But how do you manage that if it's a room for 5 people, but then if it's 6 person walks in, do you just tell them to leave, or what do you do in that scenario? With the AI features enabled in the Panicast 50, you can actually limit those people as well. So you can actually turn on the capacity limits and say, pretty much American lady speaks up. So if there's a 6 person, it actually says you're over capacity, please leave the room. So features like that are already embedded in the Panicast 50 to kind of allow people to go back into office safely, but also allow the IT managers to extract that information and really make decisions based on that, because historically they haven't had any details in the last 18 months. So how do they make decisions right now? But if they invest in the Panicast 50, the next 6 months, 18 months, or 24 months, they can make sound decisions around the device or around the meeting room experience. So without further ado, what I might do is I'll hand it over to Lloyd to give you this quick demo around the whiteboard feature, which is very much targeted at education, but also around a few meeting room experiences from Microsoft as well. Thanks, Lloyd. Over to you.
Thanks, Sue. Hold on. Hi, everyone. Just going to share my screen. Okay, so you should be able to see the Jabra Direct. Good, yep. I can see a nod. Okay, great. Okay, so when deploying the Panicast 50 for the first time, and you want to provision and deploy it on the customer side, for example, one of the first things you'd like to do is have Jabra Direct software installed on a PC so you can provision the Panicast 50 for the first time, right? So right now I have the Panicast 50 connected to my PC. This is what Jabra Direct looks like. And if you go into the settings of the Panicast 50, one of the first things that it tells you to do, or you'll go through a wizard, is to configure or opt in for the Ethernet port at the back. We do this because if you want to centrally manage it, it's important to configure that the first thing. All right, so if you want to turn that on, you turn that on, and you get this express URL section where we can go into more detail if you want to know more about this on a different session. But once you've configured this section here, what it will do is it will tell the Pentacast 50 to communicate through the Ethernet port, through the internet, to our central browser website where you can configure all your Jabra devices, from headset speakers to video devices, right? So that's the Ethernet side of things. Now, what does dual video stream actually mean, right? So on the video screen right now, you see the Pentacast 50 that I'm using. It's stitching the 3 lenses together, and you can see the stitching happening there at real time, 30 frames per second. So that's one video stream. How do you configure that second video stream? A point of interest in the room that you want to be able to show the virtual participants. So you can do that in Jabra Direct, something that you can also provision for the first time. So if you go under camera settings, and you have to make sure that you're not using your video for the when you're configuring this, otherwise you'll come up with an error. So the error will look like this. Setup is not possible because it's being used. So you need to stop your video, probably wait a few seconds. And then when you click on setup, it'll then bring the view, field of view of the Pentacast 50. Right, so you have the 3 lenses here. You can configure a point of interest. We call it a whiteboard setup, but it's not just the whiteboard, it's more than that. So if you think about in education space, as it's been mentioned quite frequently, it can be a biology class taking a point of interest where the skeleton is, or a heart, so that the virtual participant will also be able to see and view as the people in the room. All right, so this is, when I click next, this is the view of the whiteboard behind me. If we just take a step back, that whiteboard behind me was actually skewed. It wasn't flat on. So what the Pentacast 50, apart from zooming into it, like a digital pan tilt zoom, it normalizes the image so it looks like you're right in front of that point of view. So if you save that, what that will do is it will save it into the Pentacast 50, embedded in there. So even if you turn it off and you turn it back on, it will remember it. Now to invoke that whiteboard, bring it up, you use the camera controller. There's a physical remote that New will show you in a few slides later, or you can use this Jabra Direct application to launch the camera controller, or you can download an app. It's called Sound Plus, which provides you the same settings, right? So in that controller, there's an open whiteboard window. What that will do is it will open the whiteboard window on a separate window. Now, this window here is just like any application that you share in any UC platform. So in Zoom, you can share the entire screen as I'm showing you now. But what does that look like in Zoom if you want to show the 2 video streams that you see in front of you? So what I'll do is I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll just share that one application window instead. So now I'm just sharing the application window, and you can see that in the big screen. And if I turn on my video, you should be able to see me in a small video as well with the 180-degree view, but then still be able to see the point of interest, which is this whiteboard right here, right? So that's quite powerful, and that's the dual video streaming that we're able to do with this Pentacast 50. So usually this requires 2 cameras, one camera focusing on the whiteboard, another camera focusing on the entire room to get full room coverage. So just to let you know that this is not a recording, I'll write Matthew's name on the whiteboard. I made sure that I can spell it right, Matthew, so hopefully that's right. There you go. You can see that. And yeah, so that's how it looks like on a UC client for desktop. But how does this, how can we bring this in an MTR scenario, like HP Slice, Crestron, or those MTR devices that's available out there? So if I stop sharing this window here, and I go back to sharing my entire screen, I'll show you a video of what we've done in Canberra for one of our customers. All right, so there's a video. I'm using the Pentacast 50 in the front of the room. On the left here, you can see the whiteboard, and I'm connected to an MTR unit.
Sorry, Lloyd, are you sharing your video?
I am now. Okay, so this is the room. Pentacast 50 is in the front, whiteboard's on the left, and I'm connected to the MTR unit. Now, I've configured the whiteboard as I showed you earlier, and what I'm about to do is press the share button on the touch panel of that MTR unit. So I'm going to go to the front of the screen. And on the touch panel, I press the share button. And what that will do is it will launch the whiteboard view that I configured previously in Jabra Direct. So it's quite similar to that view that you saw earlier. The main difference with this capability in Microsoft Teams, the content camera, is that they provide the transparent view of the presenter. See, as I'm writing on the whiteboard, it detects that it's transparent as well, but as I move away, it gets embedded into the whiteboard, making it a brand new type of learning experience for the education space, right? So already, like if I put myself back into the participants, the students, when I'm listening to my maths teacher, I don't have to wait for them to move so I can see the equation. I can actually continue to see through them. And that's a game changer. It's something easy to set up, and it is possible just with one Pentacast 50 device. Back to you, Nu.
Thank you. All right, back to me. I think we've got a few questions in the chat box as well, but I'm sure one of my team, my colleagues, can answer that as we go, and I know we're poor for time. I think I just want to quickly recap on how we kind of built that experience around the meeting room experience and the transparent view that you saw. You will need to have that Microsoft Teams room kit, which is the Pentacast 50 and your choice of the hubs. There's HP Slice, Crestron, and Lenovo to kind of give you that experience as well. Now, the really cool thing is obviously if you are focused on Microsoft Teams and going down that journey to think about, you know, what can I do with the Microsoft Teams room? There's a lot of experience that you will see towards the end of the year, and how Jabra Pentacast 50 can actually help drive that is really around. The first thing is that alert system that I mentioned before, already embedded in the Pentacast 50, is the COVID safety. If the 6th person walks into a 5-person meeting room, how do you drive that behavior? Now, this technology or this feature is going to be released towards the end of the year through the MTR experience, but we've got this in the Pentacast 50 already. And essentially, if you buy the Pentacast 50 and invest in it, you're basically future-proofing it in order to leverage this feature from Teams. You're taking that step further. With the Teams room feature, it actually gives you a notification on top of the panel that says you're over capacity. We take it a step further with announcing it within the room or giving you those amber lights in the LED that you see on the Pentacast 50 to drive that behavior and allow you to be more safe in your meetings as well. So that's one of the key features in the experience that you can expect. The other thing is that how do we create this equal footing meeting room experience? One of the features that Microsoft is trying to drive towards the end of the year is bring this dynamic view. And we are literally driving this experience with Microsoft, because without the Pentacast 50, you're not able to capture the full room coverage. And then what you see on screen at the below, it's like a UN meeting where everyone is in the front row, but it's actually a normal meeting room where it's stitched together to give you that 180-degree room coverage to see everyone in the room. But what it does is that it actually zooms in on the individuals to look at their emotions, to look at how they're engaging with the participants, obviously within the room, but also show that you're actually looking at people in the eyes when you're joining from home or from another office as well. So really cool dynamic view. The other thing is that you can incorporate the whiteboard feature that Lloyd just demonstrated with a transparent view, all in the same panel, all in the same pane as well. So we're the only one out there, the only vendor that can provide this experience within the Microsoft Teams room as well. So going forward, this Teams room feature will be released towards the end of the year, but you can invest in the Pentacast 50 now and be sure that you can leverage this feature as well. So just a final slide on what do you get in the box if you do buy the Pentacast 50. You get the Pentacast 50, you get the wall mount, the 2-meter cable, the USB cable, but also the power supply. So what does this mean? It means that you can actually deploy a meeting already. So if you don't want to have that Microsoft Teams room experience, you can have a bring your own device as well to kind of give you that VC endpoints in those rooms where it was, there was nothing in that room, or there was a webcam, or you were using your laptop to bring your team together. So you can enable all these experience pretty much with the Pentacast 50 meeting room in a box. That was all from me. I'll hand it back to Erin to kind of wrap it up, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Matt. No, you're on mute.
I think there's a few questions.
A few questions, yeah.
I think all the questions are listed there now. But thanks very much to everyone in the Jabra team. Always exciting stuff, and I really think that sort of that virtual overlay of the teacher and the whiteboard model will be of interest to a lot of education people in particular. Where obviously certain teaching styles of teachers, it's not all digital, it's not all online. They still like to write certain subjects. They still like to write on a board. They still like to sort of throw ideas up. And of course, we've also been trying in the education space to take away the teachers back to the classroom. So in that digital environment, that's really powerful to use the software to be able to do that. And it just enhances that experience from home. So you're not just seeing the back of someone and then snippets of the whiteboard. So that's fantastic technology. I really love that. So thanks very much for the presentation, guys. Have a great rest of your day.